And all right, it is all you.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know we all have lots of things that we could be doing, but the fact that you are here and wanting to just have a little refresher course, hopefully in CMAs and how they might be a little different in this market compared to a market that you have worked in previously, just says a lot about you guys and just shows that you are doing everything that we're going to talk about. You are here, you are in a class, you are always trying to learn, and that is so important and one of the things that will make you the most successful in real estate. So my name is Sarah Romesburg. I recognize many of your names from coming to class before, and I'm just so happy to see you all again. I am out of the Mooresville office, and when I pull up our PowerPoint, I will have my email and my cell phone number on that first slide. So if ever you need anything, again, related to this class or related to anything else, I would be more than happy to help anyone with anything that I can offer. So you can get my number and email either in the Lantern database or on the first page of the slide. But we are going to go ahead and get started. I am going to try to keep this right at an hour. The biggest thing we're going to talk about today is just the power of data and how we use that data to get a market value for our properties. Things are a little different than they've been the past couple of years, but the good news is the data that we use is always going to be there. It might be different than it was last January in January 2022, but the places we go to get that data are still there. And that is kind of what we're going to work on today, is just looking at that data and interpreting it for ourselves, but more importantly for our clients. That's where the struggle kind of comes in sometimes. They get, our clients are used to the way things may have been the past couple years. And so for us to be able to articulate why we are, coming in where we are, or the data points that we are using and why they're the most accurate, sometimes that can be the biggest part of the challenge. Today, we're also going to focus on buyers and sellers. So, we think about a CMA. We think about the only time that we would do a CMA is if we have a listing, or if we're working with a seller, or a potential listing, but that's not accurate. We really need to utilize CMAs for both our buyer clients and our seller clients. If you are not utilizing the strategies and the data points for your buyer clients, you're really doing them a disservice. And a lot of times you could be, overpaying or, just not coming in educated like you should when you work with a buyer. So I'm going to show you some examples today of times where personally I've used CMAs on the buyer's end to help get a better price for them and how that's worked with the listing agent. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and pull up a PowerPoint. The PowerPoint really is more for me, just so I have notes to go off of. But at any time during this hour, if you have a question or a comment or a story to share, I would love for you to share and just interrupt me. I can talk very quickly, so feel free just to zoom in and interrupt me, or you're welcome to also type something in the chat box and I can see it there. But please share if you have any stories, questions, comments, concerns about anything that we're talking about today. All right. Okay, so again, I am going to apologize too. I like to leave my PowerPoints with the thing on the side just so I can see what's going on, and hopefully that won't be bothersome to you with the Zoom bar up also. But today, like I said, we're talking mainly about CMAs in these changing times. I've taught this course a couple times over the past couple years, and it was just called CMAs and pricing. But now, like Melissa said in the invite, things have changed. Our market has shifted, and that is not a negative thing. That is perfectly normal, and it's going to happen. If you have been in this business a long time, you have probably seen it happen already. And if you have not been in this business a long time, and this might be the first shift that you are dealing with, I know that it can be scary, but this is normal. And if you're going to be in this industry for a long time, you will be able to be successful in the good times and in the bad times. And it's just a normal part of real estate. So the main thing we're going to talk about is looking at data that is relevant for this market. I'm going to say market of the moment several times today. And that's what I want us to really remember. We have to focus on the market of the moment, which is right now. The market of the moment is not 6 months ago. It's not a year ago. It's definitely not 18 months ago. The market of the moment is right now, end of January 2023. And when we are working with buyers and sellers, it's really a struggle to keep them in the moment. You know, we can't go back and say, well, if you had sold your house a year ago, or if you had bought a year ago when interest rates were that, we really just have to stay in the present. And that's very hard to do, not so much for us, but for our clients. All right, so pricing is important for many reasons. Pricing is important because we are the expert, and unlike other industries, you know, like the car industry, there's not a Kelley Blue Book that we can go to and say a 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch with a basement on an acre and a half of land is worth $450,000. If it was that simple, you know, that would make our lives a lot easier, but unfortunately it's not that simple. We are the experts, and we also have to remember that we are helping our clients with the biggest transaction of their lives, usually, either if it's on the selling end or the buyer's end. This is a big transaction for our clients. And so it's our responsibility to make sure that when we are saying this is a price that we think this property is worth, we need to make sure we're not coming up with that price just because it sounds good, or just because the neighbor's house maybe was close to that. We have to have the data points to back it up. And I think personally, that's one of the biggest things that will set an agent apart who is going to be in it for the long haul versus an agent who, you know, will only be in the business for a couple years and then get out. And that's also going to be a testament to repeat business. You know, repeat clients is the sweet spot in real estate. So when we really go off data and go off research and take things seriously, then our clients are more likely to use us in the future. All right, so we have a responsibility to the overall health of the market to be knowledgeable. That kind of goes off what I said before. It's easy just to put a number on something, and I know we've all seen listings that look crazy with a number, or on the other hand, a buyer who wants to offer something crazy that's not accurate for the market value. So we have a responsibility to not only our clients, but to each other and to our market as a whole to do the right thing, do the research, and truly be accountable when it comes to data. So the biggest thing I want us to remember is that market value is dynamic, which dynamic means it's not going to stay the same. It changes. And the market of the moment is all you can go off of. I know that all of us have probably had both buyers and sellers say, should I list now? Should I buy now? Should I wait 6 months to list? Should I have listed 6 months ago? You know, we just have to live in the moment. There's no way to predict what's going to happen in the future. I mean, we've got trends that we can follow, but you know, we have to live in this moment. And it becomes dangerous, in my opinion, when we start to give advice like, oh yeah, a year from now, interest rates are going to be back down where they were. Just wait a year from now. That is completely an opinion that I might have. And so I think it becomes a little bit dangerous for us to spout off information like it's facts. And so we really just have to live in the moment. When a client asks us questions like that, just remind them, here's what I know now. I know now if we list your house, and we price it correctly, it will still sell. Houses that are priced correctly are going to sell in any kind of market. And so as long as we just keep data current, that's, I think, the most responsible thing for us to do. So at the bottom, you can see here, I've got this at the bottom of every page. And I think this has been one of my little notes from other classes, but it says you're the expert. So if you are not an expert, you need to become an expert. And the fact that you are all in this class right now just shows that you want to become an expert. People who just think they know everything or think they don't need to do the research or learn, again, those are people who aren't going to be around for a long time in this business. It's important, no matter what the topic is, to be a lifelong learner. If you do not feel like you are an expert on something, you can become that. And especially with CMAs and pricing, there are so many things you can do in your downtime when you may or may not have a lot of clients that are keeping you busy. You could become such an expert on CMAs, and then that will pay off so much in the future. All right, so I'm just rolling through kind of the basics now, and then we'll get into the good stuff where I show you what all this means, how to use it, how we get our data, how we look at our data and present it to our clients. So obviously we have lots of factors that influence pricing. The market, which is what we're going to focus on today, how the market and the economy affects pricing, location, lot size, amenities. Oh, look at all these misspellings. Age of major systems, upgrades inside and outside your home, the schools, the crime rates, the general condition, recent sales, and then also the season and the time of the year can affect your pricing a little bit. If you have a seller that is on a strict timeline and they are pricing or they are placing their home right before the holidays, you might go into it with a different pricing strategy than you would if you have a seller who wants to list, the middle of April, right in the start of spring. So we have to take all of those things into account when we look about pricing. And then within a CMA, which is the meat of today, these are the most important things that you have to take into consideration. Number one being the recent closed comparable properties. When we think about an appraisal, which again, a CMA is not an appraisal. And so our clients sometimes think that they are the same. They think that if I give them a CMA, that, that's the same as them having an appraisal. It is very, very different. But what is true with both a CMA and an appraisal is the number one place that either the appraiser or the agent doing the CMA is going to get their data from is going to be closed comparable properties, not active comparable properties, not even pending comparable properties, but the ones that have closed within the closest amount of time that we are now. And again, comparable properties just means similar. We're not going to use a 2,000 square foot brick ranch and compare that to a, 2-story, 1,200 square foot, or not 2,200 square foot little cookie cutter house in a neighborhood. Those are not going to be comparable properties because they're very different. So some other factors that are important in our CMA that we need to be looking at: square footage, the age of the house, the property, the neighborhood, what kind of home it is, meaning is it a brick home? Does it have synthetic stucco? Does it have vinyl siding? Is it a ranch? Is it a 2-story? If it has an attached garage and how many stalls, the stories, if there's a pool with the property, if the construction state, so that means, is it a brand new construction house? or is it an already complete resale home? And then the listing age is also important. So of the houses that we're looking at, we want to see, you know, how many times has this house sold in the past? You know, how long did it take to sell each time? And was it, you know, was there any issues with past listings of the property? And then acreage is also another one that's important. So now we're going to get to the good stuff. So in MLS, in your canopy, in your MLS, you have, and you pay for with those wonderful MLS fees, all kinds of resources that are so underutilized. We obviously know that we can search active, under contract, closed properties right in Canopy, and we can click some, and down at the bottom it says quick CMA, and we can do that. We also obviously know we can get to tax records through our MLS, but there are so many other resources that you should really go to, and you don't have to pay extra for to actually compose a CMA. And I'm going to hit on three of the biggest ones, and I'm going to just walk you through these. I'm going to show you how to use these, and then the most important one today for us with CMAs in a changing market is going to be this one right here, the SAM reports. And if you've never used SAM reports, you're in for a treat, because it's probably my favorite resource in Canopy. But when we think about shifting markets, and we are in a shifting market. When we think about a shifting market, we can only use the data that we have. We can't, you know, go in our head and say, well, I think it's going to be like this, or it should be like that. We have to use what we see. And SAM is so beautiful because it allows us to really narrow things down and break it down into time that is super close to where we are now. And so this is a tool that will really help your clients, buyers and sellers, understand that, you know, when we say things, when we say days on market is more now than it was 8 months ago or 10 months ago, and percentage of list price to close price is a little greater of difference than it was a year ago. We have the data to back that up. And so when you just come in to meet with a seller and say, you know, blah, 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 it's one thing. When you have the data to back it up, it's powerful, and it shows our clients that, like I said at the bottom, we are the expert. We are the people that they can trust with such a big transaction. We are the people that they can trust to guide them through this process. All right, so let me go to MLS. Let's see, I think I'm going to have to go. Do you still see my PowerPoint, or do you see MLS?
PowerPoint.
Okay, let me re-share my screen. Okay, so now we're in Matrix. You see Matrix now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so when you go to Matrix and you log in, and again, this might be a refresher course for some of you guys, and if it is, I apologize. I promise I'm going to get to the changing times part in just a second. But if you go into your main page of Matrix and you scroll down, you see all these realtor tools. And this is where you can get to basically any of the tools I'm going to talk about today. You can also go to other things that are super helpful. So if you have downtime in your day and you want it to devote it to something, just go to these realtor tools and play around and see all of the data that's available for you. And again, remember, we are paying for all of this stuff, so it is important for us to utilize it. Today, I'm going to start with SAM reports, the one that I said was my favorite. So I'm going to scroll down right here. It says Statistical Analysis Module, SAM. I'm going to click on that. And SAM reports are just wonderful because I can search specific to a county, a zip code, a city, even a neighborhood, and get specialized data. So up here in the top, I'm going to search by, to begin with, I'm going to search by county. I primarily do most of my business in Iredell County, and so that's what I have typed in. So Iredell County is what I'm going to do just for my first snapshot. I'm going to do all price ranges, all property types. I am going to change this to do traditional sales type. So that excludes foreclosures or short sales and just is traditional without any extra circumstances sales types. But again, there's all kinds of things you can identify up top. But down here, this is where it's important. So you can see at the bottom, there are many things I can look at, data points. The list to close, that's going to be a time period. The shows per listing, days on market, percentage of original price. But this is where it's important for where we are in January 2023. Up here at the top of the little map, you can change the time that you are looking at. So I'm changing it to a year because honestly, if I'm working with a seller or a buyer, it doesn't matter what happened 2 years ago. It doesn't matter what happened 3 years ago. It matters what's going on right now. So I'm going to close it in to the closest possible. And then when it says 12 months, I'm going to have monthly data. And so you can see here, right now I'm on percentage of original price of that. So that means that what a house was listed at versus what a house closed at. So right here, and once you touch the map, it'll show you what month it's on. So look, in January 2022, there was 100% percentage of original price. That means that the average of houses that were closing for list price was 100%. Meaning if I listed it at 325,000, it was going to close at 325,000. You can see before, let's back it up to June 2021, which is when things were really crazy. You can see the average percentage was 101.3. So if I had a house listed for 325, it might close, the average percentage it's going to close is, 337. Okay, it shows us it was above list price. But again, we're living in the here and now. So we've got January, February, March, went up just a tad bit in April, which is not uncommon since that's kind of spring selling season. We can see it levels off here in the summer, but then look at July. And July is honestly when things started shifting in our market that we work in. So in July, we were at 100%. August, it was 99%. So again, if I am listed at 300,000, it might sell for 295. Okay, September 98.1, October 97, November 96.1, 95.2. Okay, this data right here is not what a seller is going to want to see. However, remember, this is the market of the moment. And so it is so important to preach to our clients and use this data to show them, on average, the only thing I don't like about Sam, I've gone down a rabbit hole. It takes about a month for them to fully upgrade. So they're not going to put January's data point until we're in February. So you do have to look back at the last full month's data point. So that's why December's the last full one. I wish it was current with the time, but it waits a month at a time. So when I'm working with a seller and I'm showing them this, and a seller saying, but my neighbor, in June got her asking price. She got 2 offers. They were both at her asking price, and she got her asking price. Why did she get her asking price in June? And I'm about to list, and you are telling me we need to list for less, and we might have to negotiate. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this data, and I'm going to say, look, in June, the statistics show us that people were still getting 100% of their list price as a close price, but we're not in June anymore. Look where we are. I'm going to show them this graph. Also, this is just percentage of original price. Let's look at days on market. Okay. Ooh, look at this one. So back at the beginning of the year, 10 days on market. And remember, I'm in Iredell County right now. I am searching by Iredell County, the whole county as a whole. But I'll show you in a minute how you can break that down even and get closer. But January, it was 10 days on market. February, 7. You can see how I'm going month to month. In May, it was only 4 days on market. And that means from when it was listed till it went pending or under contract. Well, again, July, that's the ding, ding, ding. That's when the shift started. So in July, we were at 5 days on market. But now August 8, September 11, October 14, November 20, December 24. This is a big difference. 24 days on the market compared to 4 days on the market in May is a big shift. And this is a hard pill for sellers, especially to swallow. So when you are meeting with a seller and you are going into a listing appointment or having a conversation with someone, you need to make sure you let them know the market of the moment is showing us that houses are taking a little bit longer to go under contract. It's due to lots of factors. We all know interest rates and just, the economy and whole and inventory. There's lots of things that account for that. But at the end of the day, this is where we're at today. So when her neighbor sold in May and got an offer 1 day after listing, a seller cannot have that mental space. They cannot think that in February 2023 that it is the same as February 2022. And the way that we can kindly and respectfully and just let people know that we are data driven is to show them these things. When a seller asks me, why is that? Like, why has my house been on the market for 2 weeks and my neighbor 6 months ago wasn't on the market for 6 weeks? Well, then again, I have already shown my sellers this. I have already prefaced this before we even listed and made sure that they are living in reality, AKA the market of the moment. But the way that I am getting them to see that is by showing them this data from our Canopy MLS. You can also see that it shows per listing. So how many people looked at your listing? This is also so powerful with your sellers. So in March, there was 11.7 people would look at a listing before it went under contract. Okay, look down here, we're at December. So there's only 3.9. But remember, so you might think, oh, well, that's good. Like there's not as many people looking before I get an offer. But remember back here in March, 11.7, my average days on market before going under contract was like 6 or 7 or 5. So I had 11 people looking in 5 days. Okay, now in December, we're at 24. I only have 4 people looking in 24 days. So a seller is not going to have days probably where they have multiple showings. They're not going to have a showing every day. There are going to be days that go by between showings. There might be weeks that go by between showings. And so a seller is going to get upset if you do not communicate that up front. When you communicate these things before we even list the house, they know what to expect. They know the timeline is different. They know that it's normal in this market for there to be fewer showings. They know that it's normal in this market for a house to be listed for longer than it was 6 months ago. But again, being able to show a client this information is just super powerful. So like I said, you can play around with this all the time. Month supply is another good one. In February 2022, we had a 1.5 month supply. So again, they say the general rule was anything under a 6-month supply means that it's a seller's market. If it's over a 6-month supply, it's more of a buyer's market. So look where we are. I mean, you know, we're still in a seller's market when they talk about numbers, but things have definitely changed. Right now, 2.8. So that means, you know, things have changed from the 1.5 they were, but we still are, as they like to say, in a seller's market. It's not completely flipped around on us just based on numbers. So again, let me show you how you can narrow this in. If I am making a CMA for a person and they live in a specific neighborhood, it's like a cookie cutter neighborhood where there's a bunch of new construction houses, there's a bunch of resale houses, there's houses that sell often. I'm not going to search by county when I do this. I'm going to search by their particular neighborhood. So I am going to, well, let me go down here. I'm going to search by their subdivision. So I'm going to do Morrison Plantation in Mooresville, just because I know that's a neighborhood where there are many, many sales and there's lots of data to pull from. So if I'm meeting with a seller who wants to sell their home in Morrison Plantation in Mooresville, I'm going to go to data just on Morrison Plantation. And so again, in Morrison Plantation, in October, we had a 2.3 month supply. Now we have a 1.1 month supply. We can see days on market just for homes in Morrison Plantation. 51 days in September, then it was 2, maybe there weren't as many listed, but now we're back up to 54 days on the market for this neighborhood. So if I go to meet with a seller, you know, I'm going to tell them we might be on the market for a little bit. The average days on the market for your neighborhood right now is 54 days on the market. The average or the percentage of original price that we're going to close is 94.1%. That might hurt some sellers' feelings if you say, if we're going to list at, you know, $350,000, the average close versus list price is 94.1% of that. But it's always good just to be upfront with this information and with these numbers. So sellers are stressed people. They are stressed out. I mean, buyers are stressed out too, but like a seller is stressed out. And very often they take out that stress on you as their agent. And so anytime you can prevent one of your clients from coming back and saying, I had no idea it was going to take this long, or this isn't normal, that this, that, and the other, when you have shown them all this data, you know, it helps take that element away. We want to all be on the same side. And so it might be uncomfortable for you to think of showing up at a listing appointment and saying, you know, doom and gloom, your house is going to be on the market for 54 days and you're only going to get 94% of what we asked for it. You know, that is uncomfortable for us to say. And I don't think we should say it just like that, but I also would rather be completely upfront and give my client the respect to let them know what the data points are. I'm not going to go into a listing appointment just to get a listing and kind of trick them into thinking, you know, things are different than they are now. So data in SAMs is just so good. It's so good. And again, up at the top, you can, if I was in Morrison Plantation and it was a 4-bedroom house, I could come up here and it was 4-bedroom resale, right under 3,000 square feet, non-waterfront. And again, this is good if you work in any areas like around the lake or anything like that that have waterfront and non-waterfront, you can specify that. And so you can see if I change those things, a 4-bedroom, less than 3,000 square foot house, non-waterfront, my percentage of list to sale price now is 98.2. So when I specify it for the property that I am meeting with that seller for, you can see those numbers change a little bit. Days on market is 6. But if I took those things away, my days on market might be a little different. This lets me see what buyers in our market in this neighborhood are looking for, and one type of house might be more desirable or sell quicker than another type of house. So again, you can play around with all of these things. If you have never played around in SAM, please go do that. Again, you can do it by zip code. You can do it by county, city. If it's like in downtown Charlotte, you could do it by the condominium complex. If you are working with condos, you can just do it with so much. And this is like my favorite thing that Canopy offers for us. Does anyone have any questions before we move on to one of our other resources? All right. Okay, so within Canopy also, I'm going to go back to my matrix page, and within Canopy, there are two more that really give you like a paper copy of something to take to a client that creates a CMA. My favorite one to actually use to create a resource is called RPR, Realtors Property Resource. And so again, I'm on the Realtor Tools and I'm going down and clicking on that. In Realtors Property Resource, it will give you a printout that you can send to your clients either through email or print it out and bring to them in person or stick in the mail. But it makes you look like you are knowledgeable. It makes it look like you are professional. You can go in RPR and put your picture, put your company picture, your address, all your emails, cell phones, all those things, and it will put that on the report. And it just makes it look very, very official. So I'm going to do one. Let's see, I did that one for somebody the other day, but that wasn't a good one. I'm going to do a property that I helped a buyer purchase not long ago, a couple months ago. And this is one where I mentioned that you can use CMAs for your buyers just as much as you can use them for your sellers. So I type in my address up here. And again, you can do address, your tax ID number, whatever you want to use. And this is good because it will work other places than our market. So like if I wanted to look up a CMA for a house at the beach, I could put that address there and it's still going to pull the data, even though it's not in my Charlotte Canopy MLS, it will still pull the data. Another good thing I like about RPR is it uses properties that were not just on MLS. It will use properties that have been recorded with the clerk of court. So if there was a property that sold off market, or if there was a transfer from like a estate, you know, and it went from a parent to a child, as long as the deed was transferred, the data will show up as kind of like a comp. So it does use all data, not just MLS data, which I personally like. So you can see I've typed in this address and I can go down and look at all the data it gives me. It's kind of like MLS. It'll give you everything. But if I want to create a report, I'm going to go up here to this create report button. Then it will ask me what kind of report I want to create. So let's say this house, again, I helped buyers purchase this house, but let's say they lived in there 2 months and now they've decided they want to sell it. So now I'm going to make them a seller's report. Okay, so I'm going to click that. You can go down and see all the things it's going to include in the seller's report. And again, down here, you can upload, I don't have my picture in there, but you can upload your information, you can put your picture in there and that'll be on the report, first page of the report. But you can see everything that's included. Okay. So before I do that, I skipped a step. Let me go back. Right now, it says this house has a value of $394,000. When we closed in October. We closed for $400,000. You can see right now the value that it's saying it's giving me is $394,780. When I click on view details, It's going to give me, first of all, it's going to give me how many stars, which is important. So this is in a neighborhood. It's pretty confident of this value, but it also gives me a range. If this was a house that was in the middle of nowhere and didn't have neighbors and no recent comps, the star value is going to be different. So it might only have like 2 or 3 stars if it wasn't super confident of the estimated value. But you can read through this. It shows you the comps that it used to get to that price. Okay, so here are all my comps that it used. And again, down here it says one that was off market. That's what I was talking about. Even if it wasn't listed on the MLS, it still uses off market properties. And so those are the comps that were used to create this. But let's say since my seller purchased this for $400,000, let's say that he completely renovated the kitchen, like took everything out of the house and completely renovated the kitchen. So if I want to make sure that value is in my CMA, I can go right here to refine value. I'm going to click this button. In refine value, you can either refine the value positively, meaning that we have made improvements to the property, or you can refine the value negatively, which means that, you know, compared to other houses, this house might be lacking in a certain area. But let's say I'm going to refine the value positively. Okay, so I'm going to add an improvement. In RPR, I can go and say what I did. So I did a major kitchen remodel. Let's say these clients the kitchen was old and they completely gutted the kitchen. Let's say they completed it this year, January, they just completed it. And let's say that it costs $30,000 to completely renovate this kitchen. So then I'm going to add this improvement, and you can see that now my estimated value is $411,280. With anything, you're not going to get dollar for dollar what you put into it generally. And this is also important for sellers to see, because they think if I put $30,000 into something, I should get $60,000 back. So this is kind of a tool too that is helpful sometimes if a seller's going to say, you know, if I redo my bathrooms, you know, is it going to be cost effective if I'm going to sell in 6 months? This is a good tool to use for that. So again, I could add improvements and you can see the value has been refined. On the other hand, let's say that this house needed complete flooring everywhere. Let's say they had a dog and the dog ate all the floors, ate the carpet, messed the hardwood floors. So I'm going to say new flooring, as a needed improvement. And I'm going to say that if you were going to do the floors in the whole house, it would cost $6,000. Okay, so then I'm going to add that improvement, and that just deducts from the overall estimated value. So this is such a great tool when you are working with a seller and coming up with a price. You can also refine the value by the market conditions. So like right now, you know, I would leave it at average if I was doing this right now. 18 months ago, when I was doing these for sellers, I was moving this over all the way to hot. So you can see if I move our local market conditions from average, look what it is at average, 405,280, and I moved it over to hot. Now it's 426. Okay, so that makes sense why 18 months ago houses were selling for so much more than they are right now. But again, in this market, I'd probably leave it right there at average. Home exterior condition, again, if it's like the outside is inferior to comps, I would move it down a little bit. If it's exterior, location, lot size, privacy. This is a good one in neighborhoods because you'll have houses that are in a cul-de-sac, and it might be at the end of the cul-de-sac where it's completely woods on the backside. So you have a lot more privacy than some of the neighborhood houses that they are using to comp out. So let's say if this house was in a cul-de-sac and it had full trees all the way around it in the backyard and you couldn't see another house, I'm going to make it superior to other houses, and you can see that that has increased my market value by $8,000. And so again, these little things are super important to play around with. You can't just stick in an address and call it a day. Okay, but so now I've refined my value. I'm going to create my report. I usually just stick to all the things that it gives me in real life. So I'm going to say seller's report, and I'm going to run my report. It takes a couple minutes for it to generate the report. You'll hear a little doorbell sound when it gets done. So I'll pull up the report when this one gets done. But you can see up here at reports, it's got a 1 beside it. That means it's working on one report for me right now. It'll let me know when that report is done. While I'm waiting for that report to be done, let me show you the other one that you can use to actually formulate a CMA that you could give a client. So the other one is called Remind, and Remind is also in our Realtor Tools. It's right under RPR, and it's honestly very similar to RPR. I prefer RPR to Remind, but it is just another platform. It's another program. This one has a little bit more because it pulls from the MLS, and you can see like the newest listed properties, but you can do the same thing. So if I want to search for a property, let's say I'm gonna search for the same property that I just did, 159 Vesperman. Okay, so then it's going to pull that up. Same thing. I can create a CMA. And when I create a CMA, it's going to ask me if I want the Remind CMA or the Cloud CMA. Cloud CMA is a paid service, so you have to pay extra to be able to use that. But I've never found an instance where I needed to pay for that. The difference with Remind and RPR is that you select the comps that you want. So it's asking me, what kind of comps do I want? What minimum bed, maximum bed, bath, square footage, if I want that. It's also asking me the time frame. So this could be important in today's market. So I maybe don't want comps that were all the way from July. I maybe only want comps from the beginning of October to current. So I'm going to change my time frame. And also it'll let me select the distance away. So I'm going to change a couple of those little things, and I'm going to press search. Then before it creates a report, it's going to show me the comps that it found. So let's see, it found 8 comps. 3 of them are currently active, 4 were closed on MLS, and 1 was expired. So if I'm okay with these 8, and again, I can go through and look like, I don't want that one included. I definitely want that one included. I could get rid of some if I did not want them. So then up here, I'm going to say save and continue. If I wanted to put my picture on there, I could. Again, this is kind of a preview of what it's going to look like. My information is down here at the bottom. Sometimes it'll have a picture of the house on the front, but I could say save and continue. I could also put my clients' names on there, but then it'll break through what's going to be in that packet that you're going to get. So you can see here, average days on market 47, list sold difference 1%, seller concessions, it's showing you as an average of $5,000, and then our estimated value is 420. So again, these are just more numbers. I could print this. I could do images or not, but this is going to pop up a PDF. I could print it out and give it to my sellers, or I could just save it and email it to them. And so again, this is what this looks like. I could choose whichever comps I wanted to before I created this report. But as a listing agent or as buyer's agent, I'm going to pull all of these CMA reports and share with my client. Let's go back to that house that I showed you, that Vesperman Circle. This house, again, we closed in October. This house was listed, that's why I need to go back and look. This house was listed for way higher than what we got it for. And the reason we could do that, yes, okay, here it is. This house you can see was listed for $430, and we closed at 400,000. And this was an instance where the listing agent and I went back and forth. She was very nice. She was very respectful, but we went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And every time we went back, I had data to show her. I said, my clients are offering this number to you because of the Remind report, because of the RPR report, because of the SAM data. I pulled all of this data. And then I said, my client can see this. Other buyers can see this. Other realtors can see this. So yes, you're asking $430,000, but based on all of this data that I have pulled, we think the house is worth $400,000. And because I had all that data, and because the agent showed the seller that data, we closed at that price. And if I had not had the data to back it up, we very well might not have closed. My buyers, they were firm with what they wanted to pay, but they were justified based on the comps that were available. And I got that from all of those resources. But if I, as a buyer's agent, just came back and said, I don't know, this is what my buyer said they're going to pay, this is what we think it's worth, and this is our offer. If that listing agent had that information and went back to the seller might have said, no, like, we'll wait. Our house, we know it's worth more. We're going to wait. But because I presented all that information and the listing agent was able to see that we had done our homework, we were knowledgeable about the market, she was able to go to her sellers, present the data that we sent over, and they agreed that this is a fair market value for our home in the moment. In October, I think we went under contract in September. So September 2022, this was market value for the house. If it was September 2021, market value may very well have been 430, but it wasn't. And I was able to back that up using all of these data points and all of this CMA knowledge. So again, Remind. Let me go back to RPR because our other one should be ready, our report and RPR, which again, I prefer the Zoom bar keeps getting in my way. I prefer RPR. There it is. So the doorbell went off. My report has been generated. I'm going to download my report. And you can see this is what it looks like. Okay, so on the front page, we've got a picture. We've got my information. You can see that this is a big document. I think it's like, I don't know how many pages it is, but it shows you your refined value, your estimated value, what the property was last purchased for, closed at. Then it breaks down into the specific comps. It talks about the neighborhood. It talks about the improvements and needed improvements that I made. It's got property pictures from when the house sold. But then down below, it breaks down to property history. So over time, this individual property, how it's changed. It talks about the neighborhood, how it's changed. You can see it, all these things. Now, for some people, they look at this and they're like, I don't care. I do not care about this. But if you've ever worked with a type A or someone on the like a D personality or like an Enneagram 1 or 9, these people are like eating out of your hand when you show them all this. When you walk into a listing appointment or you send this stuff over to them before, and they can dive into this data and really dive into all of these numbers, that's so powerful. You have shown them that you are the expert, that this is not you getting your real estate license and you just like, poof, this is what I think your house is worth. You think their house is worth this because you have all this data that you're bringing to the table to show them that. And you just create an atmosphere where there's nothing like hidden. You don't want to work with a client and say, oh yeah, by the way, it's going to be like this, or by the way, it's going to be on the market longer than we thought, or I have no idea why it's not selling. Like, those are just not phrases that a professional realtor, like we all are, wants to say. So Matrix, again, is so good. We get mad at Matrix, or I know I get mad at Matrix sometimes, and I get mad at Matrix invoices that get sent out that are so much, and the realtor bills that are so much. But then when we have all of these resources that are in Canopy and in MLS that we can use, it makes it not as painful. One more thing, and then I'm getting out of Canopy and going back to the PowerPoint. When I am in the search and I have found a property, I can get to Sam, Ramon, and RPR within a property. So let's say I am helping a buyer that's looking at a house that's active. So I've looked it up. Instead of going on my main page and searching under realtor tools, I can go to the property. Down below the little 4 colorful dots is RPR. The bar graphs are Sam. And I don't know what that is. The little blue upside down water drop thing is Ramon. So if I'm on a property, I can just go and press one of those buttons and it'll take me directly to information based on this property. So the only time you would really go into it the way that I did is if you were working on a new listing and it might not be actively listed already, you could do it the way that I did, or you could do it the other way if it had been listed before. So either one of those is going to work. All right, so I'm going to go back to Zoom for just a second and see if anybody has any questions. I know I'm getting to the end of my hour mark, so I'm going to wrap it up in the next 10 minutes. But before I go back to my PowerPoint, does anyone have any questions or comments or concerns about those resources for a CMA? Okay, all right, so I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. Those are all the resources. Again, tax records I didn't go over, and then the active closed comps I did not go over either, but we all know how to use those. So then other resources that will help you be a master of CMAs, especially in this market where it's shifting. Attend classes. Again, preaching to the choir. Here you are in a class, you are trying to learn more. And this is just so wonderful with CMAs and anything else in life. Attending classes and being a lifelong learner is so important. You could also obtain some certifications. So when COVID was here and everything was online, I got my appraiser certifications. Like I took all the pre-licensing appraiser classes. Did I ever want to be an appraiser? No, probably not. But was it easier to do when I could do them online and learn so much by taking those classes? And it wasn't relatively expensive. So I just went into it like, I'm not going to be an appraiser, I don't think, ever in my life, but going through the pre-licensing class for the appraiser programs and just learning all of that knowledge is going to serve me, not only being able to help other agents, but it's also going to serve all my clients. Like, it's just knowledge that I did not have before. The NAR website is another good place to go when you are doing CMAs, because it shows like where people are moving from, where people in your area are moving to. So it might speak to, you know, days on market and best time of year to sell. It talks about months and years and just some different statistics that could be important if you're thinking about the best time to list a house or when to advise your clients to make a move. Get a mentor is another great way. If you are struggling with CMAs, you know, and you know there's someone who is doing a good job at that, maybe they would want to mentor you, or maybe they would be agreeable to letting you present like a CMA that you created to them. So, you know, like if I'm your mentor and you wanted to do a fake CMA presentation to me of an address, you know, that would be something I would be receptive to, where you could have an address and say, I'm going to create my own CMA and I'm going to pretend like you're my seller and I'm going to walk you through the CMA. Also, and this is important with everything, if you're not comfortable using something, don't use it. So I am not going to run and make an RPR report, print it out and send it to my seller, and then them have call me and say, well, like on page 5, what does it mean when it says, you know, the average percent of close price versus sales price or list price? Like, what does that mean? If I don't know what something in that document means, I'm not going to send it to a client. So you need to be knowledgeable about the things that you send out. You need to be knowledgeable about the things you speak about. Clients, they do not forget anything we have ever said. They're like toddlers that you can say, we're going to the park next Friday, and next Friday, your toddler will say, what time are we going to the park? A client, especially a seller, is just like that. You cannot start spouting off things that you are not knowledgeable about. So just like at the bottom, if you're not an expert, become one. Make sure you're knowledgeable about every aspect of those CMA reports that you create. YouTube is a great resource for real estate, for CMAs, and for anything in life. Like if you need to know how to do something, you can find a little tutorial on YouTube. But that's also a great place where lots of real estate videos are about creating CMAs, about how to effectively communicate to your sellers and buyers. And one tool that was new to me that I put at the bottom is called the Loom, Loom. And Loom is not going to help you make a CMA, but Loom is an app. You can get it on your laptop or on your iPad or iPhone, and it allows you to video record yourself explaining what's on a screen. So if basically it would be like my video of me going through this PowerPoint. If I didn't want to do this class live, I could go onto Loom, pull it up, pull my PowerPoint up, and speak like everything I've been doing in class, but it would just be in the corner of my PowerPoint. So for every page, it would be me over there talking. And Loom is great because in 2023, a lot of people don't have time to actually physically sit down with you and go over a CMA. So the reason I thought this was a good resource is if I was going to make a CMA for somebody, I could create that PDF, but then I could also go in Loom and talk them through the CMA, and it saves as a video. So then I could email them a video link of their CMA and my little face in a circle saying, as you can see on this page, there's 3 houses that sold last month. It sold for this price. Like it's basically me being there and explaining things to them in real life time. And so Loom, I think, is good for CMAs. Like if you wanted to do a video CMA, which is kind of like a new concept, but I think a client would really appreciate that. But you could also use Loom in other aspects of your business. So if you have not, and I was going to do one of those for you with this, but like I said, my son's been home all week with a flu, so that did not get done, the Loom. But you can sign up for free. You can upload to pay a price to use like the premium service, but you can use a free version of that. And I think it would just be super powerful with all of your marketing and just help your clients have things explained to them. So our final thoughts, like I just mentioned, before you do your research, so before you do all this data collecting and get your numbers for your CMA, please, please, please never talk numbers or price with a client before you've done those things. And I know this happens to us all the time. A client, not even a client, a friend at T-ball practice or at church will say, like, what do you think I could sell my house for right now if I was going to list my house? It is very tempting for us. And I say us because most of us are outgoing, extrovert. I'm not an extrovert, I'm an introvert, but most of us are very just want to provide value and just talk and do all these things. So it is very tempting for us to say, oh yeah, I bet your house could sell for $400,000. And now I haven't done a bit of research on that house, but I just wanted to have something to say. Please, please, please don't do that. Please. If you take away one thing from this CMA class, please let it be that. You need to lead with data, lead with knowledge, lead with facts. And so don't talk numbers. Your seller will never forget that. If that person calls you 8 months from now, they're going to remember that conversation that you had. And so just say, I'd love to do some research on it. Can I email you over a CMA report when I get it done later this evening? And that's kind of a gateway to scoot in and, maybe get their email if you don't have it already, but just please don't say things if you are not knowledgeable about them. And then lastly, I said it before, our data is dynamic. So what was true a month ago is not true today. This is your biggest challenge as a realtor in this market. We have a whole group of people, our clients, who have expectations of the past 2.5 years of the real estate market. They have seen multiple offers. They have seen cash buyers come in and offer without even looking at their property. They've seen waived home inspections, waived appraisals. They've seen all this because their neighbors, their friends, their family have had that experience. Unfortunately, the market of the moment is not that. And so our biggest job at this moment is to create a understanding of the market of the moment and just let our buyers and our sellers know that this is normal. This is not anything to be afraid of. This looks different than it did 18 months ago or even a year ago, but this is normal. I think that one of the book club books that everybody's reading right now with Chris is The Shift. If you have not read Shift by Gary Keller, I really strongly advise you to read that. That's one I like to listen to it. I have Audible. And so that's a book that I like to listen to just for some reason. But in that book, Gary Keller talks a lot about, running people. There are people in life in anything who run towards problems or run away from problems. We are at the point right now where we need to be running towards this, and I say problem loosely. We need to embrace the change. We need to embrace the shift. We need to continue to do the things that work for us and leave the things that don't work for us behind. And we really need to make it our job to be knowledgeable, to communicate to our clients that the market of the moment is the only data we can go off of. And when you have clear expectations, you will find that your transactions will be more peaceful. You will have less angry phone calls from your clients, and that in turn will turn around to have repeat clients. Those people will want to use you again. So just remember, this is hard. This is a hard time to be a realtor, especially if you have only been in real estate 2 or 3 years and you popped in right when things were getting good, as they say. And now this is new for you. So if this is new for you and you are slow, just dive into the data and really just make yourself an expert on data, make yourself an expert on the market that you serve. So if you primarily work in one region, really just focus in and know everything that you can about that market in this moment, would be my advice for you on that one. All right. So any questions, comments, concerns, stories, anything that anybody wants to share before we finish?
I have a question, Sarah.
Okay.
For RPR, when you did the report for the seller, you selected seller's report. Would you select the same for the buyer as well, or which one would you select for a buyer?
That's a great question. I should have mentioned that. There above seller's report, there was one called property report. And so if I'm running that for a buyer client, I usually select property report. It will still give me comps. It will still give me the estimated value in the range. But if I'm working with a buyer, I will usually, the property report honestly has more information. It touches on schools, it'll tell you the zone schools. It'll tell you if there are any parks or anything nearby. So the property report actually has more information than the seller's report does.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and again, those resources, if you have used them before, just go around and play with them some more and just see the SAM reports are so important. to just go in and say, you know, what the change has been like in the past 6 months and having that data to go off of, because our biggest challenge, like I said, is shifting our clients' minds that, you know, the market has shifted. We are in a different market than we were a year ago, 18 months ago, even 6 months ago. And so all we can go off of is the data that's provided to us, but it is our job and it is our responsibility to our clients and to our other realtors in this market to make sure that we are using data that is relevant and from this particular market, not the market of 18 months ago. So if you need anything, let me pull back up the PowerPoint one more time that has my contact info on the front. So if you ever need anything from me, my cell phone number and email are on this front page, and you can definitely reach out. Again, if you are a newer agent and you are wanting to practice these things, team up with another newer agent and, you know, do like one of you be the seller, one of you be the agent, and just get a random property and prepare like you were going to a listing appointment. Prepare a full CMA, be knowledgeable about that CMA and present it to them. And then on the flip side, pretend like you're a buyer's agent. Go in and find a property that maybe has been on the market for over the average. So like, let's say we could find a property that had been on the market for 70 days. Okay, well, maybe let's go to that property, do a CMA for that property, and pretend like I was going to submit an offer for my buyer. What data would I use to draft this offer? What data would I use to tell my buyer what a reasonable market value is for the house? And what data and resources would I send over to the listing agent to justify my client's offer? So you can play both sides of it. But again, reach out if you have any questions at all. And if not, I hope everybody has a great day, enjoys the sunshine today. And I will see you guys hopefully in a couple weeks at our Lantern Awards banquet. Hopefully everybody will be there. But if you need anything, feel free to reach out.
Sarah, that was fantastic. As always, thank you so much for taking time to do this for everybody.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks.